Welcome to Smashterpieces, a casual walk through the history of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster. My name is Joe.
My name is a complicated subject that we're going to have to unpack.
And if you're new here... I like that. That's good. And if you're new here, what we usually do on this show is we are playing one game for every character in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster from 1984's Duck Hunt to 2019's Fire Emblem Three Houses. That's right, kids. We're not dead.
And we don't intend to be dead.
Despite evidence to the contrary, neither of us died.
Yeah, for the first time in 5 years, we had to have our big depression, anxiety, burnout arc. But this is my pledge to you all that we plan on getting things back going again.
And this won't happen again for at least another, let's say 3 years? Let's put it at 3 years minimum.
Okay, 3 years. That works.
Which, we'll get into it in a sec when we get into, like, talking about the stuff that came out in 2023. This is the 2023 wrap-up episode, by the way. Where we're just going to talk about 2023 mostly. But
speaking of things that came out in 2023...
Well, real quick. We didn't do a lot this year. In terms of Smashterpieces, it was a very slow year, and I'm gonna be real. I think that might have been an earlier sign of the burnout starting than we thought.
Well, yeah.
So, there's that. Anyways,
yeah,
what else
frankly.
came out this year? Last year.
I did. So, y'all probably noticed by now, hey, I kind of came out as transgender. Hi. What does this mean for you? I'm glad you asked, because I don't know yet. The simple fact is that, okay, so for those of you who have been paying attention, this does not come as a surprise. A couple people that I've told, as when I told them, they were like, wait, was I not supposed to know? Was this a secret? And that's just really embarrassing when you're like coming to someone with a major life revelation and they realized it before you did. That's real fun. But I have been struggling a lot with what this means for the person that I am presenting myself as on the internet. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's not a very good time to be a transgender person on the internet right now. A lot of people don't like that.
I mean, to be fair, it's never really been, unfortunately.
No. And I figure the relatively low number of people that are going to bother to actually listening to our year-end wrap-up video half a month into the new year are probably the ones that have been with us a while and give a shit about doing the right thing. And I don't know what this means for my public persona right now, because I'm not sure if I'm brave enough to like use my new real name for NWR. I'm not sure if I'm brave enough to present my true self on stream right now. I feel like what I need to do on stream for a little bit is to just pretend that things have never changed. And I might be doing that from now on. I might still be showing up on stream, on podcasts, and at NWR with the name Matt, where you will refer to me as he, him. And maybe sometimes that won't be the case, because that's not my name from now on. From now on, my name is Melanie. My pronouns are going to be she, her. But you might walk into a stream and see everyone on the stream using that old name and those old pronouns. And that we're just going to have to go with that. Because I don't know if or when I'm going to be comfortable making the public part of my life fully into this new self that I've discovered. I'm just gonna have to ask you guys to play it by ear and read the room to figure out how things are, like, what we're doing on the day. And if that sounds like if that sounds confusing, if that sounds like it's going to be a struggle to understand what to do in that scenario, you should try living in that scenario. It's not any easier for me, I promise you. So, the way that I have decided to externalize this for now is that going forward, and frankly, for the past 5 years that we've been doing this, I have been playing a character. That character's name is Matt. And I, Melanie, am an actress playing that character. And we're going to talk about that character. We're going to refer to that character. And in chat, you're going to keep up the kayfabe of that character. Just like you do with VTubers. Because I know you're all a bunch of fucking nerds that watch VTubers like we do.
Actually, weirdly enough, I don't think a lot of our audience is.
Because I know you're all a bunch of fucking nerds. But that's just what we're going to have to go with. Because this is a very strange time. It's going to be a very difficult time. But I like doing this. I don't want to stop streaming. I don't want to stop doing podcasts. I don't want to stop doing the things I was doing before. And I don't know how I'm going to integrate myself into that. But we're just going to have to figure that out together. So for now, the Smashterpieces is going to be Joe and the character Matt. And just be cool. We'll figure it out. Or maybe we won't. I don't know. I promise you, this is more confusing and difficult for me than it is for you. So, welcome to the new year.
Also, if I might say, if anybody's listening to this and this is a problem for them, you understand what I mean by problem. How did you make it this far?
True.
How the fuck did you make it this far in the show?
I don't expect it to be I don't expect anyone still listening to, like, be transphobic or have a problem with that. What I'm expecting is, like, I just asked you guys to do some weirdly contradictory things. I just gave you, like, guidelines that don't add up, that don't make sense, and you just have to make assumptions and hope that you made the right one. And I'm sorry, but I can't change how I feel about this. I can't change that I don't feel totally safe on the internet being myself right now. I can't change that I kind of already did come out on Twitter. Maybe I should have held off on that a little longer than I actually did, but, you know, can't take it back now. And I just want to figure out what we do from here. So, that's how it's going to be from now on. So, everyone, please enjoy this character.
My favorite part of that was that you opened it with, so what does this mean for you? Like you were talking to a room full of investors?
Because I know what it means for me.
Which, well, like, all I'm saying is if there are investors out there that would like to know what this means for them, and they also want to give us money.
Mm-hmm. I would love some money.
That second half is the important one. I would
but
like
also,
money.
But also, like, if anyone, like, has any thoughts on what it means for me, I don't give a shit what you think it means for me. I'm doing this.
But video games, too.
Have you heard about video games?
Theoretically, we play them.
I have been playing video games. Just, you know, not on stream and not for this show.
Well, we didn't, like I said earlier, we didn't play a lot of games this year for Smashterpieces. We didn't get through a lot. Which, like, originally we had said, like, it's because the games are getting longer, which, yes, that is very much a thing. But I think we just, like, skipped a lot of streams this year because, again, I think the signs of burnout showed up way earlier than when we initially started to notice them. For people that did not see our update video, Matt and I both hit super burnout mode.
It was more than just the burnout for me, as you can now tell, but...
I got to the point where, like, thinking about streaming, like, gave me a sense of dread. Where I just, like, even the thought of it just caused energy to leave my body. I've had trouble, like, getting myself to play video games in general. I'm sort of getting over that now, but, like, yeah,
I just got into a new video game if you need a suggestion.
Everything just sort of, like... And even now, kind of, like, thinking about streaming just makes me shut down. Not in, like, an anxiety point of, like, state, but more like my body has decided it doesn't want to do this ever. I'm dead now.
You definitely need to recover a bit.
Oh yeah, I'm still experiencing.
You were pushing yourself very hard.
But for people that did not see that update video, because that came out in November? I want to say November, maybe December. I don't remember. We're not streaming every game anymore.
I'm still probably going to be streaming a lot just because I like it, but
it turns out, like, committing to streaming every part of every game on the list, not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Not sustainable.
And just frankly, like, when you think about, like, the sum total output of the NWR Twitch channel, we did not need 3 people playing through the entirety of a Fire Emblem game.
We talk about we absolutely did. Look, without that, we did not get the Wheel of Death. And this is a perfect segue, by the way, because our first episode of the year was the last part of Fire Emblem. We would not have gotten the Wheel of Death. We wouldn't have gotten... I've completely forgotten her name. The God Killer. I don't remember her name. Florina. Yeah. I'm bad at remembering names at the best of times. Florina, the God Killer, we wouldn't have gotten that. I wouldn't have been able to make what I still think is probably the best thing I've ever made, and I've peaked, and I'm never ever gonna, like, get better than that stream intro with the Ashokan Farewell. Like, I'm just not... That's the best I'm gonna do forever, and it's never gonna get better than that. We wouldn't have a lot of things if we didn't all stream Fire Emblem at the same time.
The WiiWare arc, for one.
Yeah, the WiiWare arc is another one. Like,
which continues into the Wii U arc.
Like, those were weird times, but a lot of very good... Like, I'm serious. I'm never gonna... I should just actually retire after making that Civil War video, because I'm never gonna make a better thing. I'm just not.
It was a really good video.
My favorite thing about that, which I have only gotten to experience one more time with the F-Zero stream intro, which is also very good, I will admit. I'm very happy with how that turned out as well. But it was the fact that I didn't fucking tell anybody that it was happening. And so, like, I still distinctly remember Zero in chat, like, the second it starts up, and, like, less than a minute in, Zero's like, I just, like, choked on my drink. Nobody expected it. That felt good. That felt really good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess also I played Fire Emblem on that stream, but, like, let's keep...
So, like, I still expect to stream most of these games, but I'm all, like... A lot of it was like, oh, I can't make any off-stream progress because I gotta do it all on stream. That has been very stupid. There is something in Paper Mario that I specifically want to do on stream because it's a cool thing I want to show off. But, like, I didn't do Chapter 2 on stream. No one should have to do Chapter 2 on stream.
I did. It was a very, very low-energy stream.
That chapter sucks. I'm looking forward to modern game reviewers having something to say about that chapter.
Yeah. bad Pikmin. I think that's actually what we called it in the episode. Was like, do you want to play Pikmin, but like bad?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how streaming's gonna go. Anyways, like I said, we started the year with the last part of Fire Emblem, which I murdered a god. It wasn't a god; it was just a dragon.
We've said enough words about Fire Emblem: Blazing Blade. I think
it was cool. Rest in peace, Matt. Rest in peace, Matthew. I still sometimes see that clip and it still fucking kills me.
Oh, it's real good. It's really
seeing good. That in the fucking credits. But after that, we played F-Zero.
That game rules.
That game's really fucking good.
F-Zero GX is one of the best games ever made.
The fact that F-Zero... there is still a rumor that they, like, have a remaster of that basically, like, in the barrel ready to go, right? I don't know if that ever got, like, disproven. Especially
I don't know.
F-Zero 99 came out, but you're welcome, by the way, everybody.
It's possible that someone heard about F-Zero 99 and then just like made some assumptions.
Possibly. If they were going to remaster any of them, GX is obviously the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that would be a much better litmus test for do people have any interest in F-Zero. Though, as far as I'm aware, F-Zero 99 has actually been relatively popular. And
F-Zero 99 is great.
I've not touched it, even though I installed it like the day it came out. I don't know. I haven't really gotten into any of the 99 games or the 35 game in the case of that one game that no longer exists. I like Tetris 99. I didn't get into that. I didn't get into Pac-Man 99 or whatever.
I mean, Tetris was kind of the only good one.
Well, I mean, I didn't get into F-Zero as well, though, again, I haven't actually played it, so I guess I can't say that. But, yeah, F-Zero GX is fucking really, really good. And, honestly, it wouldn't even need that much of a touch-up in terms of, like, look to just get, like, remastered forward. It already looks fine. I mean, like, I've said this before, like, most GameCube games look fine still. That's the point. I think that generation is the exact point where it was like, if you just sort of up-res some of these textures, like, that's all you need to do. They look fine.
It's kind of like in that middle point, though, where it doesn't look especially retro anymore. So if you don't do a good amount of work, then it'll look extra bad, but whatever.
Well, I mean, it's not like you're doing N64 games or like a PS1 game where, yeah, no, those games, looking back, are ugly. Like, almost across the board. PS1 games are especially fucking ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those games look terrible. I'd like plenty of PS1 games, but, like, to pretend they look good at all. Like,
there's this awkward point where we really were not ready for realistic graphics, but we were still trying.
As a fan of Silent Hill, boy, we sure were. And it wasn't successful. I love Silent Hill 1. That game looks awful. But yeah, F-Zero is cool, and it's the fastest racing game I've ever played. I don't play a lot of racing games. Like, Mario Kart is basically it. That's the end of the list.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never played, like, fucking Need for Speed or Burnout or anything like that.
I've played a couple, but, like, yeah, the arcadey ones like Mario Kart are the ones that I usually go for.
And Diddy Kong Racing, the actual best kart racer on the N64.
I haven't replayed it in a while, I couldn't tell you.
I take your silence as agreement, actually. So
I wasn't being silent, but whatever you say.
And also, I just want to be able to play as... You know what? F-Zero also has one of my favorite clips of any of my streams from 2023, which is Goro, like, literally last second.
That one was really good.
That clip is so fucking good. That moment was... I'm actually kind of like... I feel like part of me looks at that moment as like, I should have gotten like mad, but I didn't. Because it was fucking hilarious.
I love that. I love that moment so much.
That was... And obviously, like, I don't know. I'd never played an F-Zero game outside of a little bit of X, which we streamed X at one point before this.
Yeah, as part of like the game nights.
Yeah, it went really bad. I don't think any of us finished any races. F-Zero X is really hard. Like
it's harder than GX, honestly.
And I think it's less because it's like balanced to be super hard or harder than GX, but like obviously it wouldn't be balanced to be harder than the game that didn't exist, but you know what I mean. I think it's just clunkier. That's it. F-Zero GX is just, it plays better. So it's slightly easier. And that game plays really well, F-Zero GX does. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, it might be one of the best racing games I've ever played. I love Mario Kart, but, like, GX is just a smooth experience.
I don't know how many times that we can say, like, yeah, that game's incredible. It's just fucking good.
Please re-release it. And, like most GameCube games, please stop having them trapped on the GameCube. And you know, while we're at it, stop leaving all the stuff on the Wii trapped there. Wii U's fine. You've already brought everything over from that. After that, the next episode we put out was the April Fool's episode, which was Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of us had ever played the original Doom.
Turns out it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I had a good time.
I'm still astonished at how well it's held up. I really need to go back and like play Doom 2.
I expected to hate it when we started up. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm still a little surprised you liked it so much, but it's like, yeah, it turns out this game's really just that good.
Yeah, on paper, it seems like a game I should fucking hate.
And now like I have my eye on Doom clones a lot more.
The final boss, I think, is like one part where it's like, all right, this kind of fucking sucks. I think the Cyber Demon takes way too many shots to kill.
Yeah, I'm not sure any of the boss fights were that great, but whatever.
But overall, like, it still looks pretty good. Thank God for Game Pass that just let me play it. All of the series is on there. The one I want to play is 3, because 3 is, from what I am aware, Doom 3 is
a different fucking video game.
Well, it's divisive because it's a different, like, most of the Doom games are action games. They're action shooters. And then Doom 3 was like, no, we made a horror game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we made a horror first-person shooter. And that sounds up my alley. And apparently, as that, it's pretty good. It's just, you know, it's not a Doom game.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't have confidence that, like, because that's such a drastically different genre. I don't know that it would be immediately that good.
But yeah, like, it's an influential game for a reason. And also, the Doomslayer is in fact a dog. I forgot I wrote that. I just have the website sitting in front of me to see when the episodes came out, and I forgot I wrote that. I'm happy with that episode description, actually.
You've made some good ones.
And then after that, we did a bonus episode on Kingdom Hearts 2. I like that game.
I've said everything I ever planned to say about Kingdom Hearts 2.
The description of that episode is, say, fellas, did somebody mention the door to darkness? Line break. Pokemon is coming. Period.
Mm-hmm. That's a threat in itself. Pokemon is coming.
I'm happy with that one, too. Because if I remember correctly, I sent you a screen cap of me just saying, like, give me a reason why the entire description should not be that one line. And then you never responded, so I took that as approval. All right, after Kingdom Hearts, we got into the, I guess, technically third game on the list from 2023 if you count Fire Emblem. Though, to be perfectly honest, Fire Emblem was mostly
barely
played
from this year.
Yeah, it was mostly played in 2022. But be Pokemon. Fire Red and Leaf Green.
I don't like Pokemon anymore, and that's very sad.
I think I find Fire Red and Leaf Green to be underwhelming games overall.
That's what I've been hearing from like everyone else that played it along with us, where it's like these ones specifically also not great.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Gen 3 in general. Like, I did not enjoy what I played of Emerald. To this day, still could not tell you why.
Well, our friend Fossils was talking to me about that game, and he said that when he was doing his playthrough of it alongside us, he was making a point not to use like the same meta Pokemon that everyone else uses when they play this game. And in doing that, he discovered that there's a reason why everyone has the same Pokemon in this game. Because there's really not a lot of good options.
And I think a lot of that is less like there aren't a lot of good options and more we were at that point so used to having so many more options.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, especially now, like there are over 1,000 Pokemon, and like you go back to a game where it's like, yeah, no, 150. That's it. That's how many you get. They're like cuts down on choices very heavily. But not just that. I think like just the way, this is going to sound weird for a Pokemon game, but just the way you move in that game feels off now.
I kind of like that part at least.
But like, I don't know how else to describe it. I forgot that in the description I just like zeroed in on the warden's teeth. Huh. I should stop writing these.
No, you should keep writing them. They're good.
But I also kind of do the same thing just in general, because I don't do meta teams very much. Like, a lot of people commented on how I had a lot of meta choices on my Stadium 2 team. That was on accident. I did not mean to do that. I just picked Pokemon I thought would be cool to use. Every time I play a Pokemon game, I try to use like Pokemon I have not used historically. Every single time. Which gets a lot harder when you go back to the older games, because again, there are less options. But that's just the thing I do in general. And that's something I really did with this. I've never used a Gengar before in my life. And in this one, I used a Gengar, and it was pretty neat.
I gave up on this video game.
That's because video games aren't real. I'm not even lying. By definition, video games aren't real. But anyways, after that, we played Metroid Zero Mission.
I love this one. I
successfully
successfully did two playthroughs on stream, one of which was under an hour.
In one stream, it should be noted. I enjoyed it fine enough. I think I still enjoyed Zero, or not Zero. We're talking about Zero. I think I still enjoyed Super more overall.
I mean, yes, Super Metroid's the better game, but
then obviously, like, Dread exists now, so who gives a shit about either of them? I'm joking. Just before people attack me, I like all three.
And I have not changed my mind. I love the Mother Brain fight.
I have changed my mind. Just kidding. I haven't. I still hate it. Had you going for a second there. I still fucking hate it.
Kind of didn't.
You're just coping. Copium? Is that what they say? Is that what the kids say?
Joe and disliking a hard boss fight. Name a better pair.
What do children like? What do they say?
I don't know what the children like nowadays. I thought copium was what the kids say, but it's not. They say other things. Kids are strange and scare me.
I think copium is what the kids that were kids earlier said.
Yeah.
That aren't kids anymore.
Yeah, like the kids that we've been talking about as like the generation under us, they're adults now. Someone who was not born when 9/11 happened can legally drink right now.
I don't like this conversation. Can we?
That's my favorite one to go to.
Oh God, I was actually watching a stream clip compilation from Literally Run earlier because they did their whole like all the best clips from 2023. Here you go. And one of them was them talking about like sort of the age difference between the four people in the room while they were playing, I think, Gang Beasts or something. And one of them was like, hold on, wait, stop. I have the equalizer. Raise your hand if you remember 9/11. And then all of them raises their hands. And he's like, good, I've fixed the problem.
Yeah. See, that's for me personally, that is always going to be like the dividing line. Like if you're young enough that you don't remember 9/11, I don't think I can relate to your life experiences.
You shouldn't be allowed to drive. You're not old enough to drive. I've decided
that part's
this.
probably not true. But
I have decided this. You don't get a license. You get your driver's... The year moves up every year. What? The age moves up every year that you need to be to get your license. I've decided this. The age right now is 31. But yeah, Zero Mission is good.
Real good.
And was the second last GBA game that we're playing. Technically, let's be real, technically the last. Mother 3 doesn't count as a release here. We're playing it, but it doesn't count as a release here.
Mm-hmm. Maybe by the time we get to it, there will be a new version.
Don't say that. Do not summon that. Do not summon that in our home.
But if we get to play it on stream for the show, then it's not our fault.
To be fair, Zero Mission still is not out on the GBA.
Yeah, what the fuck's up with that?
Fusion came out, but Zero Mission still isn't. So there is still some part of the curse that that episode came out in August. There's still time, but but like that hasn't activated yet. And speaking of the curse and the fastest activation we've ever seen, after that, the next episode was part 1 of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Mm-hmm. And that was also the last episode of the year.
And then the Burnout arc began.
We summoned a remake? You're welcome.
That's supposed to wait until we finish it, though.
Usually, yes. Instead,
that's why I don't know if I count this one. But
I do, because it hasn't come out yet, and we're probably going to be done with the game before the remake comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was announced, like, genuinely, the week after we started? If not 2 weeks after we started? Like, I count that. It's just a very fast activation. Yeah. It's like you said, the only real, like, rules of the curse is that it has to come out in a way that does not help us to stream it.
Mm-hmm.
And
now Connectivity is doing a Paper Mario Game Club.
I wonder how that's going to work now that we're not, like, streaming everything. Will that, like, put a limiter on the curse now? Because now it can't inconvenience us quite as much.
I think it still can.
Yeah, it definitely still can it?
Because the point was never about the streaming. It was about the re-release not helping us.
And look, guys, we take it back to F-Zero GX. We tried. F-Zero 99 is apparently the extent of our power.
I mean, a new F-Zero thing happened, so...
Which, I guess when the series has been dead for as long as it is, that's something. You're welcome.
Mother is a more recently active franchise than F-Zero was.
Oh, God. Is it?
Earthbound Beginnings getting a localized re-release.
That's true. That does count. Shit. Oh, boy. I really hope we don't summon Mother 3. I like that game. I like that game a lot. And I'm looking forward to getting to it, but
I will quit.
It's too much power. I can't do that. I can't.
Yeah, here's the truth. There's no burnout arc. We're just stalling.
No, if that were true, we would have started stalling after Path of Radiance, and you know it.
Well, we can't let the curse know. Plausible deniability.
Or halfway through Path of Radiance, I guess. Since Mother 3 is the next game. And speaking of, that sounds like a good segue. Usually, the second half of this is we look at some of the games that we'll be playing this year, possibly.
And recently, in the last couple of years, we've talked about the same games.
Yeah, we sure have. So, Paper Mario obviously is going to continue. Part 2 will, I promise, be out within January. Okay, maybe not promise, but like,
I don't know.
That's the goal.
I'm looking at our upcoming list of games. Didn't we talk about Crisis Core like 2 wrap-ups ago?
I don't think Crisis Core is one we have made it to. Because we usually
And why do we make that joke about Gacked?
Ah, that's true. I don't know. Because usually it's like 10 games after where we are. So is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it was the second last game. Beautiful.
I'm not going to pretend we're getting past Twilight Princess this year. We've already talked about all these games.
I do genuinely think it's going to go faster now that saving everything for streams is not a factor. Like, genuinely, that's the main reason why a lot of this was moving so slow, is that we were playing it once a week for 3 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I do genuinely think Paper Mario is a bad example. I do genuinely think it's going to move faster from here. I could see us getting to Galaxy this year, possibly, but not a game further than that. Which technically, I guess, we still don't have like a solid 100% plan for this, but you probably will not see it this year, dear listener. But we are probably going to start Wii Fit this year.
I have no idea what our plan's going to be for that.
Genuinely, I have like a vague idea, but nothing concrete or solid or workable. So we're probably going to have to fucking figure that out, because that is the weird one. That is the really weird one. But yeah, we're probably going to start that this year. We will. Again, listener, you will not see that this year. I'm just going to go ahead and say that for sure. We're not getting to Wii Fit this year in terms of releasing an episode. I could see that being the first thing that comes out next year. Possibly.
Maybe.
I think that is possible, but not guaranteed. But we're exiting, for sure, we are exiting the GameCube era this year. We're finishing.
I'm not as confident as you are.
Twilight Princess I consider to be the end of the GameCube era, because it came out on Wii as well. Which,
I'm
it's a
not as
GameCube
confident
game,
as you are.
I think we'll be able to do that, because between here and there, like, yeah, we got Mother 3 in there, but to be perfectly honest, Mother 3 is not that long. Like, it might be an RPG, but it's an extremely linear RPG. Like, extremely linear.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, Twilight Princess, I imagine Twilight Princess is about twice as long as I remember it being. Probably. But I've only played it once, so I can't say for sure. Twilight Princess is going to be a really interesting sort of transition period, too, because, again, that was a launch title on Wii. It's a GameCube game, but it was a launch title on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
So that does start the Wii era, which is
and the GameCube version came out like a full month later.
It's going to be extremely weird because, like, from there, like, Galaxy is the first game on this list that I kept up with. Like, that's around the time when I started becoming, like, cognizant of game news and started following stuff like that.
Well, yeah, then there's going to be, like, personal stories about that time to tell more so than just, like, childhood memories.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we are exiting... I mean, obviously, I didn't have a lot of childhood nostalgia for any of the GameCube games because I did not have a GameCube when I was a child. But... we are exiting the nostalgia era, which has been going since the NES. Well, for us, it's been going since the SNES.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of us were alive when the NES was active. But yeah, we're crossing the line from games we probably played as kids to, no, I was like in high school when Galaxy came out.
Yeah.
I was a cognizant human being by that point.
Yep. A real ass person.
And I think the Subspace episode is going to be especially interesting. I don't know how we're going to do. I guess that and Brawl will just be the same episode because it doesn't make sense to do a separate episode about Brawl.
I think we could do an episode that's just about the story mode because the story mode is such a drastically different thing.
Possibly. Personally, so for anybody that this is like giving spoilers ahead, I guess. Peter is going to be our guest for that, for obvious reasons that people would know if they know our history. But for people who don't, Matt and I largely know each other because Peter had a Brawl podcast about the lead up to Brawl. Like 100%. That is why. That is why we know Peter. That is why we know each other. That's why we know most of our friends.
Well, a percentage that is getting smaller every day, I feel like.
Well, yeah, but like...
I was just in a call with Kyle the other day where he's like, yeah, I still don't really know what Show Me Your News was.
That doesn't surprise me at all. But,
no.
Yeah, it's that's going to be interesting. I think Peter should be the guest for both. If we do them separately, I think Peter should also be on the regular Brawl episode. Because I think that would just fit. That would just work.
Yeah.
Obviously, I say that having not talked to Peter about that, but but I imagine if he is down to be on the Subspace episode, he's probably down to do a second episode just about Brawl in general. And then, like, after Brawl, we have that first game that we recently changed to.
Yeah, for Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, we went from Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 4 because 5 is dead and no one likes it. And 6 is, I think, too recent. I don't know. I hesitate to put games on this list that came out after Ultimate was already, like, done.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So Street Fighter 4, I mean...
Or at least, like, that didn't serve as the inspiration for the character.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, we could maybe justify Final Fantasy VII Remake for Sephiroth. We're not going to, because we're going to play Crisis Core, but, like, you can maybe justify that, but you can't... I don't think you could go further than that.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I think Crisis Core is the better choice, though, considering we already played FF7. Like, yeah, I think that's the logical next one. In fact, the two games after Brawl are interesting, because then we also have Wario Land after that, which is only on the list because the Wario Land we played,
we didn't like it.
It sucked. And we decided that Wario deserved a second shot, and neither of us had played Shake It. And I've heard Shake It is very, very good.
Yeah,
So
that's what I've heard.
I am looking.
It's also a game on Wii that does not support widescreen.
That's weird. That's very odd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that trio of games is going to be super interesting. It is weird to I didn't realize this until I put them on the list, but I, in my brain, did not realize that Brawl and Street Fighter 4 came out the same year.
Yeah, they're real close.
In my mind, Street Fighter 4 came out before Brawl.
I don't know if I have a conception of when Street Fighter 4 really came out.
The main reason that I have any conception of it is because Street Fighter 4 is a historically very important game in the lineage of fighting games because it literally revived the genre.
Yeah.
Because the genre had been dead up to that point. And we'll probably talk about that in a lot of detail when we get to Street Fighter 4. But, yeah. And to go over real quick the games after Paper Mario, we're not going to discuss... Like you said, we've talked about these games in particular twice on 2 different wrap-up episodes for 2 separate years.
Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what are we doing here?
Metro Prime 2. I'm looking forward to that. Star Fox Assault. I don't know how that's going to go. Never touched it. Path of Radiance, I think is going to be fun. We have talked about how we'll probably stream that with Matt co-piloting me through that.
My thoughts on the streaming thing is I still think we should be streaming the games as much as we have the ability to. We just don't need to obsessively have our entire playthroughs on stream.
I probably will not stream unless I have a very good reason to. Personally. I have found that I do not have the stamina to stream very often. But I am very interested in streaming Path of Radiance with you as a co-pilot. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, if it helps, I can co-pilot you streaming other games on this list because there's a lot of these games that I've played that you haven't.
That's true.
Like literally our next 3 games.
Yeah. Actually, yes. And then Mother 3, I believe we went over this at one point where that's the only game on the list that I've played, but you haven't.
Punch-Out's on there.
Oh, that's true. Punch-Out
that's
is
not really like a campaign, so.
Punch-Out's on there, but Punch-Out plays like Punch-Out. You know how Punch-Out plays.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to that game. Punch-Out's really fucking good, but it's Punch-Out. Not exactly the most and then there's a billion games on here that you've played, but I have not.
Yeah, honestly, we could just make the Smashterpieces streams the inverse Kingdom Hearts streams. Because, it is a lot easier to stream with a co-pilot, so...
Potentially. Possibly. We don't have I don't have a solid concrete idea of how streams are going to go.
And also, streaming is the only time I hang out with you anymore.
That's because I'm a hermit
that miss
hides
you
under my bed when I'm not recording a podcast.
I want to make you stream so I can hang out with you.
Just buy a cardboard cutout of me like normal people do. Everybody does that, right?
I want my friend back.
That's why I'm saying cardboard cutout, that's the way to go. A cardboard cutout can't leave you unless you put it in very heavy wind. In which case, a lot of things will leave you. Video games.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
I think that might basically be it for what I know we had a conversation about maybe have a section where we talk about a game that people haven't talked about. But as far as I'm aware, again, to pull the curtains back for you folks, you have somewhere to be in 10 minutes.
That might have just been canceled, actually.
Oh, interesting.
But I feel like when I said that I had something in mind, and now I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't think of what game that would have been. I mean, do you have any game from last year that you feel interested to get on a soapbox about for like a few minutes? I don't know.
I'm certain that I must have. I just can't remember it now. I don't know.
I can think of 2.
What did I play last year?
But one of them is like, I need more people to play this game because it's cool, and nobody played it because it was not marketed. And the other one, because I don't have chances to talk about this game, and you're a captive audience right now.
Brain's kind of just been full of the stuff I've been doing lately. And you know what I've been doing lately. Do you?
Lethal Company? That's
well, Joe, have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV with an expanded free trial, including the entirety of A Realm Reborn and the award-winning Heavensward and Stormblood expansions up to level 70 with no restrictions on playtime, coming soon to Xbox Series X and Series S?
I was going to ask, because I saw this on Discord. Where was my notice that we were going to FF14?
It was in the FF14 chat where I said, hey, I'm going to play FF14.
Why would I have that not mute? I don't play it yet. I have mentioned multiple
times. It was such an active chat before.
I mute chats I know I'm not going to use.
Joe, if you start playing, I'll be there. But I'm on a different world now.
Like I've talked several times about how, like, man, if I had just like an infinite amount of time in my life, 14 is like the top of the list. I want to play that game. The story is supposed to be extremely good. I enjoyed what I played one time.
It doesn't start out good. I can tell you that for free.
Oh yeah, as far as I'm aware, it like Heavensward is when it gets good. That's it.
Yeah.
You got to get to Heavensward first. But like, and the soundtrack, of course, is phenomenal. Like, actually, legitimately, probably the best soundtrack in the series. Not gonna lie. Partly by sheer volume, being a games as a service game, there's like fucking 600 tracks on that game's soundtrack. Probably more than that, actually. But also because Masayoshi Soken is really fucking good at his job.
I don't feel it yet in Realm Reborn. I assume it's going to get more extravagant as time goes on.
Having listened to the Realm Reborn soundtrack overall, it kind of starts as like, yeah, it's Final Fantasy soundtrack. And then I think there is a distinct moment, like a distinct track that from then on, it's like, oh, they like took off Soken's limiters after this. And he just, he does some weird shit with the soundtrack of that game. And I love all of it. See, for me, the game from 2023 that I most want to tell people about is Paranormasight. Please, which is also a Square Enix published game, by the way. So there you go. That's part of the problem, is that it's a Square Enix published game and they didn't advertise it.
I have access through Steam Share, so I might as well.
I don't own it on Steam.
And who does? Why do I have it?
That's a good question. I have had it on my I played it to review it on Switch. That's how I
DQP has it on Steam.
Good. One other human being bought it. Glad to know. That's more than I thought. Because I've legitimately only seen one other person talk about it, and that's Super Eyepatch Wolf. And it was very briefly in like one of his favorite things of videos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only human being I've seen talk about that game. Paranormasight is extremely good. Its art is very good. It has like a lot of meta elements that I think are really, really well done, actually. Just to spoil one, I've told you about this one. I told you about this one when it happened. But just to spoil one that happens like right at the very beginning of the game, like the first one that happens. Paranormasight is a game about basically a death game. where a bunch of people have been given curses that all have their own particular rules for how they're activated. For instance, the first character you play as, he has a curse where if somebody walks away from you, you can kill them. Or turns their back to you, you can just fucking kill them. And there's one curse by a minor character that is like, it plays music, and if you've heard it, the second you hear the music, you're already, it's too late. You're already dead. And the way you beat it is you go into the game's settings and you turn music off. Or you turn like voices off or something. You turn a setting off. Which is really, really neat. And there's multiple moments like that. That I found fun. And it's also just like a really fun little horror story. Little horror visual novel. I will say that one of my criticisms about it is that if you want to get the true ending, it requires you to notice something that nobody would ever be looking for in a scene that nobody would ever be looking for it in, with no hints that you should be looking for it in that scene or at all. And it's that part I find frustrating, but it's literally the only that's the only part where I had to, like, after the game came out. That's the problem with playing these games like this for review before they come out, is I can't go look up how to do something I can't figure out.
Yeah, it sucks.
Which I don't remember what. I had a game recently where it was like, boy, I sure can't go look up any information about this game because it's not out yet. Oops. But that is the only thing that I had to actively go, like, look up how to do. Which luckily when I hit that, the game had come out. But again, like 4 people had bought it and talked about it. So if you like horror stuff and you have the patience for visual novels, Paranormal Sight is really fucking good. And I heavily, heavily recommend it. That's basically the game I wanted to talk about, essentially. It's good. People should play it. People should play the games that I suggest. Nobody ever does.
Resident Evil 4 was good.
Resident Evil 4 was very good, actually.
I no longer feel worried about the idea of a Super Metroid remake now that I've seen it can be, like, remakes of Sacred Cows can be good.
I guess. It's the first... So, like, Resident Evil 4, I have said among friends a couple of times where, like, it's the first time that I've played one of these remakes, which remaking games like this is a fairly new trend that kind of really took off with RE2.
Also, like, I feel like people don't have a good idea of, like, how much of a different game this is from the original. Because, like I saw people saying, like, should it have been in contention for Game of the Year as a remake of another game because it's reusing so much. And, like, I'm being completely serious, and I'm not even trying to be snarky like I normally am when I say that Resident Evil 4 Remake reuses less than Tears of the Kingdom does.
Well, to be fair, I can see why people would think that, though, because RE2 and RE3 are completely different video games. Like, top to bottom, like, compared to their PS1 versions, which if they were the same as their PS1 versions, that would be worrying. But, like, they're completely 100% different video games. So, like, there's not really this sense that 2 and 3, the remakes of 2 and 3, like, replace the original 2 and 3 because they're so vastly different experiences. But, like, RE2, the remake of that game, is very heavily based around mechanics and such that were introduced in RE4 to the series specifically, like the camera angle and all that, the play style. They're very RE4, and RE3 is the same way as well. So on the surface, I can see why people would think that about RE4 because, like, you can put screen caps of the two side by side and they look like one's just a nicer looking version of the other.
I feel like the thing about it is that, like, so yes, Resident Evil 4 was already the kind of genre of game that the Resident Evil remakes have been so far, but I think that aside from that specific fact, it kind of is reinventing the game as much as 2 and 3 did. I think that they used the original as a base, but tried to genuinely make something totally new out of it. And it's not like a different story or anything, but it's a totally different experience. Whenever I see people saying, like, you know, you can't give it that much credit because it's reusing so much of what the original was, I really genuinely don't think that that's true. I think that this is so much more of a new game than video game remakes typically are.
Where I was going originally was like I said, RE2 and RE3, those remakes don't really replace the original games they're based on because they're such different experiences. I personally think that the remake of RE4 makes the original RE4 like completely obsolete.
I don't think that's true either. I think that the original Resident Evil 4 has a lot more of a schlocky B-movie tone, and that carries through to the gameplay as much as it does to the story. I think that there's a more arcadey feel to the original than there is to the remake.
I guess, but like, I don't know. In my mind, it's one of those things where it's like, why would I ever suggest somebody go play the original when the remake is right there and is extremely good? It's the first time I've ever actually felt that with any remake of any game, outside of ones that are just like, they call them a remake, but they're actually basically just a remaster. It's just the same exact game with like nicer graphics, which, to their credit, Resident Evil has not done that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess they technically did once.
They've just done straight ports.
Technically, they did it once, but also at the same time, that's another instance of like, yeah, this remake invalidates the original game, which was the first game. The GameCube remake of the first game, like, essentially made it so that why would you ever suggest anybody go play the PS1 Resident Evil when the GameCube one is right there? I'm just glad that I got one good remake, because the one that I expect to come this year, I don't expect to be good.
Yeah, also, like, Ashley went from the worst part of the game to the best part of the game. Like,
Ashley is fucking fantastic.
She's now my favorite character.
Which, I saw a lot of articles that were like, well, not a lot of articles, but I think there was one article, it might have been on Kotaku or something, where the author was arguing like, no, this remake still fails Ashley. Like, she's still, like, she doesn't know how to use a gun, and she's not fighting for herself. It's like, yeah, because she's a civilian. That's
such a fucking stupid way to look at, like, what women are allowed to be in media. I fucking hate that so much. That's, like, actually extremely frustrating that, like, women can only be considered good characters if they're basically men. I fucking hate that.
For me, it's that, while also being like, yeah, man, that's the point of Ashley. If she could do all that, then she would have gotten herself out.
I think that the remake does a phenomenal job of making Ashley like a real character that's fleshed out and given agency without just turning her into another action movie star. Because that's the only way that video games know how to make women characters, is they're either just rewards for men, or they're the exact same character that you would write the man, but now it's a woman. Like, I fucking hate the idea that Resident Evil 4 remake did Ashley wrong by not making her an action movie star. It's actually insulting to me.
It is also that, and I think the maid just was like, well, Leon still has to save her, like, every time. It's like, yes! He's a special ops person! If I got kidnapped, I would need Leon to help me, too!
He's literally a government agent sent in to rescue a civilian. Ashley is that civilian, and despite that being the core plot of the game, Ashley is still given a lot of moments where she is directly saving Leon and helping him and driving the events forward herself.
like also, what, it wouldn't make sense if the president's daughter knew how to do, if the president's kid in general knew how to, like, fucking, like, who do you, the president is a rich person. Their kids grow up rich. Rich people don't learn how to use guns. They don't need to. They have people for that.
I'm getting a lot more heated now about discourse of how women are depicted in media. I don't know if you can tell why.
Anyways, the real question about this, though, is what do you think Ashley's major is? I'm going with liberal arts.
I don't know.
It's never mentioned. She's just a college student. RE4 is good. It's very good. I don't think it hit my top 5, but it definitely.
I think it's in contention with for my number 1 with Baldur's Gate.
That is another game that I gotta try at some point. Like, I think Baldur's I mentioned Gate this.
Phenomenal.
I mentioned this on OSC. Like, from the outside, Baldur's Gate does not look like a game I would enjoy. But also, I've seen so many of our friends whom I would have sworn from, like, the top of a mountain that it was not going to be Soul's jam. And then, wouldn't you know it, it is.
Baldur's Gate is what you thought video games were like when you first heard about them. Like, it's the kind of game, like, it is so much like playing, like, an actual tabletop game with someone, where it's like, if you think of an idea that should work, it probably does work. And that's just not true about most video games. I think so often about there's the part of the game where you need to convince, like, there's someone that's trying to use a bomb to break out of prison, and you're trying to convince them to give you that bomb so that you can, like, help and be part of the plan and do a better job of it. And, like, you know, the obvious options are like, oh, you can talk to this person's friends to learn more information about them and be able to convince them to give you the bomb, or you can not fight them non-lethally and knock them out and just take the bomb. But one of the things that works is that you can, like, distract them and have someone turn invisible, go up behind them and pickpocket them, take the bomb, and then when you talk to them afterwards, they have a bespoke voice-acted line of dialogue where they realize that the bomb is no longer in their inventory.
I've seen a clip where, and this is a much simpler one, but I've seen a clip where they were, like, trying to force a door open, like, to a town or something, and an NPC was like, don't just stand there, like, push. And before they did their roll, the player, like, took a strength potion, even though she was actively like, I probably don't need this, but, and then rolled a natural 20. At which point her character just walked up to the door and kicked it, and it just fucking exploded.
Okay, I think I need
no longer there.
I think I need to rip a Band-Aid off for you here. That is the animation that plays no matter what when you succeed, it didn't explode. That building was on fire.
No, the building was not on fire that I saw in the clip that I'm talking about.
I'm pretty sure I know what clip you're talking about, and that building is, like, that's a story event where the building's on fire.
I did not see any fire, if that is the case, but I don't know. I only saw that clip.
But one of the things that does happen in that moment is that if you're playing as a barbarian, then you have a unique dialogue option for barbarians only, where you don't need a skill check. It's just normal for you to just break that door open.
Good. Baldur's Gate is one of those, like, when putting together, like, my top 10 and putting together the top 10 for OSC as well, where, like, initially my top 10 was a bunch of fucking indie games that only I had played, and Peter's was, you know, some indie games, but a lot of, like, the big releases with the soundtracks people were talking, like, humans out in the world were talking about. And it's just, I didn't get to play a lot of the big releases in 2023 because I don't have a modern console or a PC that can run those games. So, like, RE4 and Zelda are the only two AAA games I played last year.
Well, I can tell you that Baldur's Gate runs on Steam Deck. And so does the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV.
See, that might be how I play our Final Fantasy XIV if it runs on a Steam Deck.
Yeah, dude, that game was on PS3.
That means I can play it in bed.
Yeah, dude, that game was on PS3. You can play that on Steam Deck easy. I've played it a ton on Steam Deck.
Look, I've seen so many fucking visual novels that can't run on the Steam Deck. I don't trust anything anymore.
Well, that's because Linux shit, probably.
It's Linux, and also, like, a couple of the visual novels that I've looked into and wanted to play. Like, I wanted to replay Analog: A Hate Story, which is the game I covered a couple weeks ago on OSC. But that game requires typing. Mm-hmm. And if you do that on a Steam Deck, unless you are planning to, like, plug a keyboard into your Steam Deck, which to me kind of defeats the point, typing on a Steam Deck is a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, thankfully for Final Fantasy, you only need to type when you're logging in, when you're starting the game up. Another game that runs on Steam Deck that I want to advocate for that people skipped over, Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Yeah, I've heard quite a bit of talk recently, actually, because of Pat Blavon.
Yeah, you're listening to Castle Super Beast again?
I listened to the clips
for a little bit.
I listened to the clips that Wooly uploads on YouTube. Specifically. I have not. Yeah. I have not. For people that don't know, it has been 2 years since the last time I listened to a podcast. No, sorry, yes. It's been a year and a half.
Yeah, so Midnight Suns, I bought it at the beginning of the year on Soren's recommendation, and yeah, it's fucking incredible.
God, speaking of Soren's recommendation, I'm still so bad that I didn't get on that fucking Avengers thing.
Yeah, apparently, I didn't know that they stripped out all the microtransaction shit, and apparently, like, the single-player game that was left behind was actually really good.
And it was, like, being sold for ridiculously cheap, too.
Yeah, $3, literally.
I knew that the campaign was good, because I'd heard multiple people saying that. But I also did not know they stripped out all the gas shit. Mm-hmm. And I knew it was being delisted, but I didn't think it was like jump on it right now thing. That game will never release again, which, boy, so it's not nearly as bad. I went on, like, a whole thing on Twitter a couple days ago. Just kind of about game preservation. And this is not nearly as bad as what I was talking about, which was, like, mobile, like, gacha games and stuff like that. Because people still have access to Avengers if they bought it. Mm-hmm. There will always be a way to play that game, legally or not. But, like...
Well, to the extent that you'll be able to play any game.
Yeah. But, like, I was talking on Twitter about, like, there are a whole section of games where, like, they are designed to one day they will not be playable ever again. In any capacity.
And I mean, there are certain games that you just cannot make that kind of game at all without that being the case. Like, for example, the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV. Like,
we'll see, but the difference there, though, is that even when Final Fantasy XIV shuts down, people will be able to make private servers. That's what happens to dead MMOs all the time now. But for like gotcha, like I started playing Blue Archive last year. When those servers shut down, that's it. That game's gone.
I mean, you can do that for those games too. It's just no one really wants to because there's not a lot of incentive to.
Can you though? Because there's also still the like issue of like how do you do the gotcha stuff? Do you just find a way to strip it out?
You can make fake servers for that.
And it is possible that they'll do what the Kingdom Hearts Union Cross did, which is, yeah, you can't play that game anymore, but they just, like, kept it up and, like, here's all the story cutscenes. You could just watch those in the app. I hope Blue Archive does that if it ever shuts down, because the story of Blue Archive is actually, like, really, really good. Granted, apparently the people, like, the project lead for that game recently said in an interview, like, we have enough content planned that'll last us the next 15 years, which I don't believe you. I really don't. Nobody plans that fucking far ahead.
No.
But
also, like, there's never, like, really an incentive to do that. The only reason Kingdom Hearts did is because the narrative was important for the ongoing story.
Well, but also, like, so the thing with gacha games specifically is a lot of gacha games fucking fail. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of them fail. And especially over in Japan, like, there are probably countless gacha games that have just now vanished from the earth because nobody played them, and now the servers are gone, and the game's just gone. And that sucks. That fucking sucks from a preservation standpoint. One day, this industry will get relatively good at preservation. Sadly, that day is still not today. Video games. But yeah, I didn't get to play a lot of the big releases last year because I don't have a PS5. So, like, I missed Spider-Man, which I do really want to play Spider-Man still, just for because it's Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is cool.
Spider-Man's also the kind of thing of, like, though, where, yes, it's good, but it's also, like, you already played the first one.
Yeah, so, the first one didn't have Venom in it.
The second one, Spider-Man 2 is, like, the most... I think it's the most I can possibly like a game, while also never once considering it as a candidate for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have hit my... it might have hit my top 10, but that's probably about as far as it would have gone. Like, I didn't play Alan Wake. I didn't play FF16. I didn't play... What the fuck else even came out last year? I didn't play Armored Core. I do really want to try Armored Core. Like, just a bunch of the big releases last year, I just did not play. I have already told my roommate, by the way, who is the one that has the PS5, in my apartment, for people that don't know. That's how I played RE4, is I borrowed his PS5, because RE4 is like a fucking 10-hour game. I can get through that, no problem. It gets a little bit more, like, iffy if I'm asking to borrow it for an RPG. That being said, I've already told him that I will... like, hold him up at gunpoint when Rebirth comes out. The internet is not spoiling that fucking game for me. I'm going to play that game when it launches. The internet's not doing that to me. I refuse. And also, I'm just really looking forward to Rebirth. That game looks fucking great. And I'm just sitting here crossing my fingers that my computer can run Persona 3 Reload. Which, we'll see.
At least that one's going to be on PS4.
Is it? I didn't know that, actually.
I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, you won't get it through Game Pass on your PS4, but...
Yeah, well, I plan on trying the Game Pass version first, obviously.
You still have that Xbox One?
I do.
It's going to be on Xbox One.
Yeah, but it'll take 300 years. It'll take like 300 years to install if I do it through Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to play it 6 weeks after it comes out. It'll finally be done installing.
God, Microsoft servers are so fucking slow.
They're so fucking bad. But yeah, speaking of, like, when I say that my computer can't run these games, I had the first experience ever of, like, I downloaded, like, a Dragon Gaiden, knowing that, like, my computer's not going to be able to run this, but, like, what if, I guess? Might as well try it. It didn't even boot. It gave me an error message that was basically, yeah, man, your CPU is not going to run this game. We're not even going to try. And I've never gotten that error before. That was fun. But yeah, I just don't have the capacity to play a lot of the big AAA releases right now. And there's only currently 2 that are like, no, I want to play those, like, when they come out, being Persona and Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just,
also Yakuza.
I don't know if I want to play Infinite Wealth.
I'm giving them one more chance, and it helps that I can do that through Game Pass without paying for the game.
7.
It's gonna be on Xbox One. You can Game Pass it.
7 burned me so bad that I haven't played a Yakuza game since. And that is not to say they haven't come out.
Okay, well, what you should do is you should pull out your Xbox One and download Man Who Erased His Name on Game Pass.
I need to get Game Pass Ultimate first. I only pay for PC. Because
we'll do it.
I've turned this Xbox One on like 7 times since buying it. And one of them was to have Escape Academy install for 6 hours.
We still gotta do that stream too.
We still sure do. If people are wondering why that stream didn't happen, that wasn't because of burnout. It was because Microsoft's fucking servers are awful. And it actually took, like, it's what, a 14 gig game? It took 6 hours to install it on my Xbox. And it wasn't because of my internet. It was because of Microsoft. Because Game Pass downloads also have the same problem. But you know what doesn't? Steam. It's 2024. It's going to happen. It's a year it's going to occur to all of us, whether we like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And God willing, it goes better than the past years of the 20s have gone. Come on, man. It's not a very high bar. Can you pass it once? Can you go for it once?
Never.
Just
absolutely not.
One time? We all actually died in a collective plane crash in 2015, and this has just been, we've just all been in hell since then.
If only.
I don't have anything else to say about 2023. It's a year that happened. Oxenfree 2 is extremely good. Theatrhythm is extremely good. Yeah. Good video games. A lot of good video games came out. I'll give it that.
Mm-hmm.
So like
that is an upside. There was that Xenoblade DLC too.
I have heard that was very good. I had to remind myself it came out this year. Same with, like, I talked about this on OSC, but like games that came out like at the end of this year, I'm going to have to fucking remind myself that Persona 3 Reload came out in 2024. Like, it's going to feel like I played it a whole year prior, like over a year prior when I get to December, because that's what happened with Fire Emblem, because that came out in January.
And now you know why so many of these games come out at the end of the year, so people remember them for the awards.
Yeah, I can imagine that being a very, very large, that in the holidays. Christmas, big time for buying video game. But yeah, when games come out at the very beginning of the year, like, weirdly enough, I don't think I'm going to have that problem with FF7, but that's mainly because I kind of assume that FF7's just going to be a game that's, like, near the top of my list. Persona 3 obviously could be as well, and it does look very good. Reload looks extremely good, and I am very much looking forward to that. But, like, just coming out in January or February is a great way to make me think your game came out the year prior, somehow.
I mean, I did literally play Fire Emblem in 2022.
I have a game that I did the same with that also came out in January of 2023, but I played it in December of 2022, being A Space for the Unbound.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a very similar issue there. Wrapping up. Anyways,
Alex keeps trying to convince me I played Fire Emblem in 2023, and I did not.
I am. There aren't like a bunch of like real good heavy hitters set to release this year yet, but again, it's only fucking January. Final Fantasy and Persona are the only two that I can think of. That's it. So far. Like, yeah, you've got that Princess Peach game, and you have an Alone in the Dark game coming out in like a week at time
Final
of recording.
Fantasy. It's right there.
But like, I'm not going to call either of those possible heavy hitters. Alone in the Dark might be. I haven't played the demo yet, but people that have say it's actually like quite good. So, and also David Harbour is in it, so it's gonna get press attention. But that's it. I mean, I guess there's the Thousand Year Door remake, which I can't imagine that's gonna be on a lot of people's like Game of the Year list. There's that. I genuinely can't think. I guess Vanillaware is coming out with another game, but that's sure as fuck not going to be one of the big talked about games of the year. If 13 Sentinels wasn't when it came out, this one doesn't stand a fucking chance.
Which one is Vanillaware? Are they Unicorn Overlord?
That's 13. Yeah, Unicorn Overlord. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I am going to try at launch specifically because 13 Sentinels was so good.
Yeah.
Vanillaware has been famous for making like extremely good and pretty games for years, but 13 Sentinels is the first time I've actually played one. Mostly because their games before that are also infamous for being hard as fuck. Like Odin Sphere is well known for being extremely fucking difficult.
Yep. It's going to be a good time.
Haven't really had a lot of interest in checking out Vanillaware games up to that point. But 13 Sentinels was so good that I will give them a chance with Unicorn Overlord for sure. 100%. I don't think it will be as good as 13 Sentinels. I really don't. I have no reason to think
I'm willing to give them a chance.
But I think it will at least be very good. But it's not going to be a widely talked about game because it's Vanillaware and they never are.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, the only two massive AAA titles that I can think of that are for sure coming out this year so far is Persona and Final Fantasy.
It's hard for me to like look ahead and remember anything, honestly.
Well, there's nothing else currently set to release. I've looked over the list multiple times. Nothing else is currently set to release. Nothing. I mean, there are probably games that are like, yeah, sometime in 2024, but those are the only two big AAA games that have like a date.
And what got picked up in Fantasy Critic?
I'm
Star
also
Wars Outlaws.
I only vaguely remember what that is.
That's the Ubisoft Star Wars game.
Ah.
So the first draft picks we had from everyone were Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Dragon's Dogma 2, Tekken 8, Persona 3 Reload, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Rise of the Ronin, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door remake.
Okay, yeah, now that I think about it, like we were literally just talking about it and somehow it still didn't come to mind. Infinite Wealth will probably be on the list of games that are widely talked about by the end of the year.
Would you like to hear the second round draft?
Sure.
Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, Metaphor ReFantazio, Under Night in Birth 2, Unicorn Overlord, Hollow Knight Silksong, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Metroid Prime 4, hopefully, and Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga.
I see we're still being very generous and optimistic about Silksong's release date.
Oh, yeah. Well, also in that same draft is unannounced mainline 3D Mario platformer.
To be fair, I think there's a bigger argument than before than there's ever been about Silksong for coming out this year, specifically being when it was
Microsoft really thought it was going to be out last year.
They really did. So I could see a bigger argument than there has been in the past that maybe it's coming out this year, but genuinely, until that game is installed on my PC, it's not real.
Yeah. We played it at E3 5 years ago.
We played it at E3 in fucking 2019 on a Switch, and it's still not, it's the only game we played at that show that's not out.
Also, I wasn't sure what to pick in my last round of the draft, so I decided if no one else got me, I know Donkey's got me, and I picked up Animal Well.
Is that one of the games he's publishing?
That's his first publishing game.
I see.
Donkey knows what good games are. He's only going to publish good games.
He's only going to publish good games. He's definitely proven that he knows everything about what a good game is.
I mean, Animal Well does look pretty alright, and I don't want to shit on an indie for no reason. So,
you know what? Another Code, actually, that's one that actually looks very good. That I've been told is going to be extremely up my alley. Another Code remake. And Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Apparently, people are very, very optimistic about this Prince of Persia game.
Yeah, that looks like a good fucking Metroidvania.
Like it genuinely looks very. I don't know if I'll play it on like launch or anything, but like it genuinely does look like a very, very good game. And at some point this year, Bloober Team will break my heart by shooting it with a gun. No, I have to talk about this. Have you seen any of Silent Hill Ascension?
I've only heard of it.
Go watch Silent Hill Ascension. However
I've heard things about
however bad you think it is, it's worse.
I heard about the named characters named after the chat showing up.
I have watched the first 2 episodes because Eyepatch did streams where he watched the first 2 episodes, and there's VODs of those online. Holy shit. Holy shit. It is abysmal.
Mm.
And I still do not trust that Silent Hill 2 remake to be good. I genuinely, I'm sitting here, it's pure cope of, maybe they'll just stick to the script and it'll just be the same, the same story, but, with better gameplay. Bloober Team doesn't do bad gameplay, at least, sometimes, mostly, as far as I'm aware. I didn't play the medium. I heard it was terrible and also morally repugnant, but maybe that's not going to happen. That remake's going to suck. And I'm going to play it. And it's going to be bad. And it's going to fucking break my heart.
Sorry.
There is one single game on that Silent Hill announcements list where I'm like, that will probably be good, actually. Because it's being made by people who made good horror games in the past. Bloober Team is not a member of that list.
No, they sure are not.
They have made one good game, and then they never made another good game from there. That's it. Layers of Fear is actually a good horror game. Every game they've made after that is terrible. Though, actually, I hear Observer is not the worst. And I do want to try it. But, Layers of Fear 2... The Medium, both of those games I've heard are.
This is so much awful. Not my area. So
look, man, I
don't go here.
Silent Hill is coming back just to die again. This will be the 3rd time Silent Hill comes back just to die. And the 2nd time since I got into Silent Hill. I just want another good Silent Hill game. That's all I want. Can't you give that to me? Just once. Just one time.
From Konami?
Ascension, graphics-wise, genuinely looks like it came from, early PS3. It looks like not only is it bad, story-wise and voice acting-wise and just everything-wise, it also looks terrible. I'm not kidding. Anybody that, like, has any interest in watching something that is so bad that all you can do is laugh at how fucking awful it is, go watch it. And then find out from Castle Super Beast clip about the only 3 banned words at the start. Do you remember Pat talking about that?
Somewhat.
In the chat, there were only 3 banned words total. And they were scam, Hideo, and Kojima.
Right.
Everything else was free game, and you can imagine what the internet did with that knowledge. They had to shut the chat off halfway through the first episode.
There are a couple of those words that you really need to be on top of.
Yeah, there's a few words that maybe should just default be on your banned word list.
Yeah.
And those 3 aren't any of them. It just, I think that is the funniest, like, the fact that scam was already.
Oh, absolutely. That's
like,
the best
from
part.
the start. Like, Hideo and Kojima makes sense. Konami's petty as shit and fuck it. But, like, the fact that they knew they were going to have to ban the word scam before the first episode even fucking aired shows they knew how this was going to go.
But not one single slur.
Not a single... Nobody would ever use slurs on the internet. Name one time. Okay, for real, we should probably wrap this up. I'm sorry, I got into Silent Hill. Look, I'm sad and I have a lot of feelings about it. And every time a new Silent Hill game comes out, you're all going to have to hear about it from me. And it's going to be the same conversation every time. It's just going to be a video of me staring at the wall and crying.
Sorry.
Me too. Anyways, with that, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Like I said, this month, Paper Mario will continue. It's going to come out. If I had to guess, we'll probably wrap it up like mid to late February.
Probably later February.
I think late February is more likely, yeah. But there's a possibility we could do mid-February. I'm not going to promise that, though. And then it'll be time to jump into Metroid Prime. So,
all right.
I'd say it's gonna be a good year, but let's just go ahead and say it's gonna be a year.
We keep being optimistic about years. We shouldn't be.
Yeah,
years
you know
have
what?
been bad historically.
New experiment. This year's gonna fucking suck.
If we survive the year, I'll call it a win.
Anyways, with that, my name is Joe.
My name is Matt.
And
I guess
we'll see you next time when we talk about the Paper Mario game allegedly, theoretically, Get Out of My House.